I know it's, what is it? It's July 30, so it's a little bit early, but Australia Day is back on the agenda. I am sorry to say, because one council has decided to rear its ugly head and join the long list of lefty councils around Australia that has cancelled Australia Day. This time it's Dubbo Council, which says we couldn't possibly have any sort of celebrations or citizenship ceremonies, etc. on Australia Day because, you know, that's actually Invasion Day or Survival Day or whatever the hell you want to call it. So we're going to move it to January 25 instead, because if you just move it to the day before, it has nothing to do with Australia Day anymore. Now, the council's excuse for this is quite funny, really. They posted online in response to the outpouring from people in the community saying, what the hell are you doing? He said, Council determined during the 2025 July Ordinary Meeting, which was last night, that events and activities to recognise Australia Day in Dubbo and Wellington will be held on 25 January. Sorry, to recognise Australia Day on 25 January. Australia Day is not on 25 January anyway. They say this decision was made by councillors to balance the needs of the community and provide a range of activities for our community. And we encourage residents to spend Australia Day on 26 January in a way that is meaningful to them. Well, I dare say there are plenty of migrants who've moved to this country and might live in the bounds of Dubbo Council who would have found it really meaningful to become a citizen of Australia on our national day, Australia Day, January 26. But the council says that's not a way that they should meaningfully spend Australia Day. Joe, we'll do it on January 25 instead. Why do they keep doing this stuff? It's like all of the virtue signalling that we talk about in Indigenous affairs. It does nothing to change anyone's life. Yeah. Can't you just get on with Australia Day being on Australia Day because that's when most people want it to be?
I just don't understand. Does Dubbo Council, does the Dubbo Wellington area not have enough problems? Like, is everything else fixed and now this is what they're going to get to? I actually really like Noel Pearson and Wesley and I had similar ideas of having an Australia weekend, an Australia Day weekend, so you could celebrate the 25th, the 26th and arguably even the 27th. So you could have 25th celebrating Indigenous Australia, 26th celebrating the arrival of the Europeans, and then the 27th celebrating the new multicultural Australia we live in. And so, you know, why have one public holiday when you could have three? But the idea that you would actually move the day in an area which, frankly, is, you know, has its own issues with social justice, with law and order in particular, and disadvantage. It just makes no sense to me. It's kind of like saying, oh, we've got a crisis in Indigenous health. I'm going to change a bit of red pen on a calendar and then see if that works. And, you know, in the papers tomorrow, we're going to find out the Closing the Gap targets are even worse than they were a year ago, with most not even close to being met. And yet you still have so-called Aboriginal activists, people who claim to have the best interests of Indigenous Australians at heart, banging on about this crap instead. It just boggles the mind. Like the amount of energy that goes into this, and the amount of councils around the country who are doing this as a matter of priority, while there is real need in the community, it's just kind of staggering. It's like someone saying, oh, you know, hey, my house is on fire, and someone saying, oh, really? Well, how about I get a postage stamp and write a letter of support and mail it to you?
Yeah. No, and it makes no sense. And the problem with these activists is it's never just about Australia Day. If you cave on Australia Day, the next thing will be the flag, and then it'll be the place names, and then it'll be the name of Australia itself. And then you add legitimacy to this argument that the left is trying to propagate, which is that Australia is an illegal country on stolen land, that we don't have a right to be here, that we should be ashamed and embarrassed at the whole project of Australia, which is, I mean, a historical one, but also objectively untrue, given millions of people would love to move to Australia because what we have built is so incredible. And that's my problem with this whole argument. It's not really about Indigenous people. It's about continuing to try to tear down the country. You can observe Australia Day on January 26th and be reflective of the impact that colonisation had on Indigenous people, but also celebrate the remarkable country that we've built for all Australians, including Indigenous Australians, who are objectively better off now than they would have been pre-colonisation.
Indeed, and by the way, in the corner of the screen there, you'll see that parade going on for Ozzy Osbourne in Birmingham. If there's anything interesting coming out of there, we'll bring you some full screen pictures.
At least there's one thing, Aussie, that people are proud of.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very good point. But also, no one ever talks about the fact that January 26, apart from being the day that the First Fleet arrived, is also the date, I think it was in 1949, where Australian citizenship first came into being. It was January 26 that we created the concept of Australian citizenship. Prior to that, that's when the legislation came into effect. Prior to that, everyone was a British subject. So January 26 isn't just about the arrival of British people. It actually marks the day that we made the most significant change in our country's history that asserted our authority, apart from federation, as Australian people, separate from the British. I mean, surely that is something, a part of the story of January 26 that we should be celebrating as well.
For sure, and it's been celebrated as a public holiday since 1818, when Governor Lachlan Macquarie of New South Wales designated it a public holiday. Over 200 years of history, tradition, pride. Doesn't mean you ignore the suffering of Indigenous people, but we need to celebrate the remarkable country that we've built.